All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the continuation of our BCBA practice exam series, where we're going through another set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like, subscribe, and share. Check out behavioranalyststudy.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. A parent is rewarding their children for completing chores. The parent uses money only to reward doing the laundry, but will use tokens for things like mopping, sweeping, and doing dishes. What best describes money and what best describes tokens in this specific situation? So a couple things here. One, we are looking at this situation and this situation only, and that's typically true for these questions. You want to look at them in a vacuum, meaning one question does not affect the other. Two, we're looking at two things. We're looking at the money and we're looking at the tokens and what role they're playing or what we would consider both the money and the tokens. In this case, money is used to reward doing the laundry. So right away, we can consider money a conditioned reinforcer because money is conditioned. It's used to reinforce doing the laundry. It's conditioned reinforcement. Now, tokens are a little different. Tokens are also conditioned, but they're used for multiple behaviors, mopping and sweeping and doing dishes. And so instead of just being conditioned reinforcement, these tokens are now generalized. So if we look at A, money would be A, conditioned reinforcement, and tokens would be generalized conditioned reinforcement. Appears to be what we just described, but we always want to read every answer choice. B, generalized condition reinforcement and generalized condition reinforcement. Well, since money's only being used to reward doing one behavior or doing the laundry, it's not yet generalized in this specific situation. That's why that wording is so important. C, unconditioned reinforcement and conditioned reinforcement. Well, we know money is not unconditioned, so C is out. And then D, generalized conditioned reinforcement and conditioned reinforcement. Again, same issue as B. The money is not generalized in the situation. The money is used only for the laundry. So in this case, the money is conditioned, while the tokens are generalized conditioned reinforcement. A child has started to cough whenever they hear a loud sound. Since this has become disruptive, the loud sound is played repeatedly without the accompanying hot sauce that caused the initial cough. Eventually, the child stops coughing at the sound. What is this an example of? All right, interesting question here. And you should identify this as a respondent behavior question because we're talking about coughing, which is a reflex. And so we know that the loud sound is evoking the coughing. And how did that loud sound come to be or come to pair with a stimulus? Well, that loud sound, previously neutral, paired with hot sauce. And so we had this hot sauce, which paired with the loud sound, which is now evoking this conditioned reflex of cough. And so what purpose does it serve to play the loud sound without the hot sauce that caused the initial cough? Well, when we want to engage in respondent extinction, we need to repeatedly introduce the conditioned stimulus without the other stimulus that it was paired with. So the hot sauce and the loud sound were paired. We want to unpair them. We now need to introduce the loud sound repeatedly without the hot sauce. So what is this an example of? A, operant extinction. With operant extinction, we're looking at the consequences, right? We're withholding a consequence. It's not what we're doing here because respondent conditioning is not based on consequences. What we're doing is B, respondent extinction. We're withholding the hot sauce, right? But playing the loud sound to try to unpair the two. Response generalization. Generalization is not what we're looking at here. It's not taking place here. So C is out. And then stimulus fading. Don't be confused by stimulus fading. We're not fading anything out, right? We're just trying to unpair the loud sound and the hot sauce so the loud sound stops causing the reflex of the cough. And in order to do that, in order to unpair that something, we have to present the loud sound stimulus without the hot sauce. So what is this an example of? B, respondent extinction. You're reviewing data from an ABAB design. During the first A phase, the target behavior occurred at high rates. After moving to the first B phase, the behavior decreased significantly. When you went back to A, the behavior returned to high rates. And once B was introduced, the behavior decreased again. What can be concluded from this design? All right, so we've got a pretty standard ABAB design. We have baseline, where we have high rates. We then go to intervention 1, which is B, and we're lower. We go back to baseline, we're high again, and then we go back to intervention, and we are low again. Pretty standard ABAB design. Appears to be effective, or appears there's actually a relationship between our dependent and independent variables. And so that's what the question is asking. What can we conclude from this particular data set? A, the intervention is ineffective. Well, we would not conclude based on the information and based on the data that the intervention is ineffective, given that there's a pretty significant change in the withdrawal, right? When we withdraw the intervention and reintroduce it, that change continues. B, there are likely confounding variables impacting behavior change. If anything, the repeated reversal and withdrawal of the intervention is showing more and more that confounds might not be affecting behavior change. Confounds are those variables that affect our behavior change, and we don't want them to, right? They're getting in the way of our intervention. But the more you reverse the design and reintroduce design with more effect, right, the less it seems confounds are playing a part. C, the intervention appears to have a functional relationship with behavior change. Yes, we have baseline. We go to intervention. It seems like intervention is effective. We remove the intervention. We go back to the original baseline data. Intervention is once again reintroduced, and behavior changes again. It seems there's a functional relationship. And then D, there's a 100% chance a functional relationship exists between the intervention and behavior change. Almost never are we going to say 100% chance of anything, especially with a functional relationship. As clear as it may seem, we're never going to say we are definitely in control. There's a very good chance, right? And there appears to be a functional relationship. We're just not going to make the claim that it's a 100% chance. A girl sees a cookie on the counter and says, "I want a cookie," prompting their mom to give them one. This verbal behavior is influenced by the girl's hunger, the sight of the cookie, and the previous history of receiving cookies upon making a request. What concept best explains the relationship between these variables? All right, so be careful here. What is the question asking about? It's asking about the relationship between the variables. It's not just asking about the verbal operant, right? When the girl says, "I want a cookie," and they get a cookie, but the relationship between hunger, which is the MO, sight of the cookie, which is the visual, and then the learning history of receiving cookies. So when we have all these different variables in play that are impacting the verbal behavior or whatever verbal operant is evoked, what do we call that? Well, we call that A, multiple control. The hunger, sight of the cookie, history of receiving cookies, all have control over this particular verbal behavior, which appears to be a man. And so when we have multiple variables impacting verbal behavior, we're talking about A, multiple control. We're not discussing the verbal behavior itself, but rather the relationship between these variables. Remember, answer what the question is asking. It's not about conditional discrimination here. We're not, again, discussing discriminating between different snacks or anything of that sort. We're talking about the relationship between hunger, cookie, and learning history. And then consequence contiguity has to do with closeness of consequence, which obviously is not the topic that we're discussing here. The concept that we're talking about is multiple control, where we have multiple variables playing a role in the verbal behavior. In behavior analysis, what is considered the act of delaying gratification by engaging in responses that produce a larger reward on a delayed schedule or in a certain way to change future behavior? So just kind of a straightforward definition question, because after all, we are practicing, we are preparing, and so we want to be very clear what we are talking about when we think about self-management and self-control. And so when we're talking about self-management / self-control, we are talking about delaying gratification by engaging in responses that produce a larger reward on a delayed schedule. And when we talk about delaying gratification and then still engaging in responses on a delayed schedule, this is what we mean when we say self-control in ABA. Very straightforward definition question, but it's important that we are familiar with the idea of self-management and self-control and what we really mean when we say self-control or self-management. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe for all of our video updates. Make sure and share if we are helping you in any way. Check out behavioranalyststudy.com for all of our study materials. When you pass, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.